Hey there, Stashers! Welcome to the CraftStash podcast. I'm your host, Kim. This is episode 112. Oh, I don't think I have a name for it yet. Hey guys, welcome to Saturday night. Welcome to those of you guys who haven't seen the show before. And those of you who have, you might notice a little something different. I went ahead and upgraded my video situation majorly. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy better video quality, better lighting, great close-ups. I went ahead and bit the bullet and did what I've been meaning to do for a couple of years now and buy a DSLR that is capable of shooting video and does a good job. So I've got myself a Canon T5i and a really cool pancake lens, 40mm for those of you guys who care about the geeky stuff. And I'm gonna put it through its paces. Probably it'll put me through my paces first, but we'll see how it goes. Let's just jump right into what I'm crafting, shall we? Hey y'all, so I'm crafting up a couple of things. I actually have a finished object to show you guys. And it's always one of those things where it's a finished object in such that I'm mentally done with it and I'm maybe 95% done with it, but I still have some finishing to do. I finally finished my socks that I had started working on not even about a month ago, at the beginning of this month. As some of you guys know, I signed up to be a member of the Yarntini Woolbar's Choose Your Own Self-Striping club, whereby for 3 months we got to make up our own self-striping sock colors. Such a fun experience, and actually really hard because picking the colors, I really couldn't decide sometimes. But this was my first shipment. This was my February shipment. I chose these really awesome, of course, my usual colors, the neon green, the lavender purple, the cyan, and the deep teal. And I finished my socks. So as you guys can see, these are my patented assless chap socks, or my heelless socks. Kind of when I make socks, I know that I'm gonna run out of, or I'm gonna wear down the heels way faster than the rest of the socks, so I kind of don't bother knitting the heels, and it works for me pretty nicely. So the thing that's kind of not done about these is, for the most part, both socks match, but when I got towards the top, I started working, I started each sock individually, and then I kind of worked up past the heel, and then I decided to start working from both ends of the yarn ball so that I could kind of make sure I wasn't ever going to run out of yarn and that things were progressing fairly evenly, and to kind of do 2 socks at a time. And normally I work on 1 sock at a time, and I forgot how slow it feels to work on 2 socks at a time, so I probably am not going to do that again. But it was helpful just to kind of, again, if I wanted to use every last inch of the yarn, I definitely would recommend working from both ends of the ball, because you kind of meet in the middle and then you stop working on your socks. But as you can see, 1 sock is a little bit taller than the other sock. I had just bound off a little bit too tightly on one of them. And decided to give myself another inch or so of height or length or whatever of the sock. So that went very nicely. I'm showing them on 2 different sock blockers because this sock blocker is much, much larger, and the sock ended up being a little bit too big for me. It's a little loose, but that's okay because I love them anyway. And this is the sock blocker that kind of fits the shape of the size of my foot a little bit better, and as you can see, it's much slouchier on this sock. So that's the only reason they're on 2 different sock blockers, but yay, finished object. So what else have I got for you? I'm actually gonna pause right now and make sure that my audio is recording. Okay, work for you? Works for me. Yay, sound. Okay, so my disclaimer for the next couple episodes is that shit's gonna be in flux. I'm gonna be figuring out the microphone. I'm gonna be figuring out the lighting. I'm gonna be figuring out how fast I can do this without the camera freaking out like it just did, because I like to do that a lot. So sorry if it looks better but doesn't necessarily sound better, or the lighting is weird. Working out the kinks. Oh, maybe, hello, that'll be the name of the episode. Working out the kinks. Yes, so we were talking about what I'm crafting. So I had that as a finished object. The next thing that I'm working on is on the floor. And it is part of a CAL that is happening in the CraftStash Ravelry group if you're not a member, and if you are on Ravelry, and if you are into groups, and if you like to win prizes or be chatty, definitely join. If you don't like any of those things, well, boo-hoo on you. But yeah, there is a knit along where everyone is kind of celebrating their love of New York City, whether or not you live here. It's called the I Knit NYC CAL, and it's basically a time and place for the next 3 months, April through June, for everyone to knit a pattern that reminds them of New York City, or to use some yarn that is dyed by a New York-based indie dyer. So what I've chosen to do is, I changed my mind about 60 times. We have a featured pattern that is part of the CAL. It's a lovely, lovely Triborough hat, or tam, Triborough tam and cowl pattern. It was a little bit much mentally for me because there's a lot of purling and stuff going on, so I decided to do a different pattern. The pattern that I chose to do is called the, oh gosh, see, I knew that's the reason why I had my internet up right now. Yeah, so the pattern that I chose to make is called Keskitys, Keskitys. It's a pattern by Emma Karvonen. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's a really, really fun, simple garter stitch shawl, scarf, whatever you want to call it, and it uses 2 colors. So I'm using some Plucky Knitter Primo Sport in this really awesome avocado green, and some really special yarn by my friend Kristen of Voolenvine Fiber, which is her Tiger Lily colorway. So a lot of really fun oranges and grays and lavender purples. And this is how the shawl is turning out. So I can tell you a little bit more about it because it's a free pattern, but basically you start off you start off up here with like something like 4 stitches, and then you increase into the shape of a triangle, and you alternate the 2 colors to stripe however you'd like it to, and then you pick up along the sides. And again, you can continue the stripe pattern, or as you can see in my case, I didn't really care about continuing the stripe pattern. I really wanted to enjoy some of the pooling that was happening. So you basically knit back and forth for the garter stitch and decrease as you go along, so that as the pattern grows, your shawl is going to grow out into a really fun triangle shape. And this is kind of, I'm learning to love garter this year. I was listening to Arlen's podcast. She has a really awesome audio podcast called The Lost Geek. She's based out of Indonesia, and she picks a yearly theme for herself. And like most knitters and crafters, I think by now we pick themes for ourselves. But she's including a segment about her theme in her podcast, which I think is really cool. So not that I'm going to do the same thing, but if I had to do something similar, I think my themes for this year were color work and texture. So I'm really, really loving the garter stitch, and I'm also really loving kind of the natural flashing that's happening in this yarn, and I think the garter stitch softens that flashing a little bit. It looks a little bit more painterly, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So that is my contribution for my own I Knit NYC CAL, and if you're interested in joining us, there's a thread in the CraftStash group for the CAL. The prizes are really awesome. I'll show them to you a little bit later, and the fun thing about this CAL is it's a joint CAL between me, Kristen of the Yarngasm podcast, and Maria of the Subway Knits podcast. So please do join us if you feel like celebrating how awesome New York City is. So I think that's all that I'm crafting. I will show you a little bit of my spinning, but not necessarily because I'm doing tons of it, but just because it's really awesome and because it's a bridge to what I'm stashing. So I shouldn't say I fell off the wagon, but I got a little bit inspired by some spindles that I've been seeing on people's Ravelry pages, and I was checking out Etsy and I found yet another new spindle maker. I feel like it's a great thing that there are so many new spindle makers, but I also feel like it's a really bad thing because I keep wanting to buy them and try them out. So my newest support spindle, and yes, I was planning for my only support spindle of this year to come from Spanish Peacock, but we'll see how that goes. This spindle is from GST Works on Etsy. It's absolutely lovely ebony, and here's the thing where we have to do when we have to play with the focusing on the camera. This is ebony with a turquoise inlay. So of course, you know, I had to grab it because I love that turquoise. And it's a pretty tall spindle. Okay, the camera's being kind of funky. It's a pretty tall spindle. Do you want to get closer, camera, or do you want to get further away? All right, anyway. It's a pretty tall spindle. It's about 11 inches, which is tall for me, but it's so slim. And it's a Russian style, so it's pretty sleek. And I, of course, love that Harry Potter wand effect. Because I don't know, it's really fun. It spins a little too fast for me. And the edges, the points are really, really sharp. So I'm probably going to actually file this down a little bit so I don't stab myself. But I absolutely love this. And it's wearing some fiber from Gourmet Stash. This is her CSA Pony Club, the second colorway, which is called Blue Skies and Happy Flowers or something like that. Really, really great stuff. So, yay. All right, so that was the bridge. So I've got a lot of what I'm stashing. Do you want to know why I have a lot of what I'm stashing? Truthfully, I would like to know why as well, but I will show you what I'm stashing and maybe talk about how come I'm stashing so much stuff that way. I'm just gonna put it all in my lap. I'm also deciding whether or not to do more YouTube-like editing where I'm like the quick cuts and the like face making and stuff, because I'm not trying to alter my style, but with this new camera, it just makes me feel like I can do a couple more things and get a little bit more creative with the editing. You know? You know? You know? You know? Yeah, you know. So, what am I stashing? So, the first thing that I'm stashing is actually a gift from a fellow podcaster, Kim, my doppelganger of the, I can see your logo and I can see your opening intro and I can hear your music going da 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 da. Her name is In Between Dreams on Instagram. I think it's called Stitch by Stitch Vidcast. Yeah. All right, so Kim of the Stitch by Stitch vidcast, she started podcasting maybe 6 months ago now. Has it been that long? And as a welcome to the crafting podcast community, I sent her a little welcome gift with a couple of fun goodies, nothing major. And she very sweetly said thank you, and we chatted about it. But then she, months later, aka a couple of days ago, mailed me this really awesome package of hand-spun yarn. Hello! She friggin' made this. So good. And the tag has now fallen out. So I can't remember what it's made of, but it's really awesome smushy fiber. It's about 80 yards of a very nice thick DK worsted weight. Really awesome colors. These are totally my colors, Kim. You totally got it right. And it was really inspiring because I hadn't been machine spinning or wheel spinning for a little while because I've been spinning so fine, but it's a really nice tactile reminder of how awesome fast, chunky spinning can be. So I think in my future there's going to be some chunky spinning for sure. So thank you so much, Kim, for helping me in my stash. I've actually been wearing this as a necklace. This is how much I love the yarn. So let's do that. Very chic. Yeah. Okay, so the other things I'm stashing, kind of just because it was a crime of passion, a crime of opportunity. Last weekend, I took that Friday off. Actually, no, I didn't take the Friday off. Last weekend was Good Friday, so I was off. And I went walking around my city, which was an awesome, awesome experience. I think I did something fun that I would tell you about if I remembered it, but I don't, so I'm going to keep going. I basically ended up going to Pearl Soho downtown just to check it out, just to hang out. I took myself to a very nice cafe and had a hot chocolate and just happened to wind up at Pearl Soho. Weird how that happens. And I saw this amazingly bright, beautiful, squishy, mushy, hurt your eyes with so much fun rainbow yarn. And this yarn is Allegria. I think it's by Manos Del Uruguay. And this color is called Locura Flor. It is superwash merino with 25% nylon. It's about 445 yards. And it's freaking awesome. And it's machine washable, which is always nice. So I bought this because the colors were super bright. Okay, camera, you wanna look at me again? Okay, camera, we can do this. All right, there you go. So I brought this yarn because it was super bright, but also because it reminded me of some yarn that I bought earlier this year from Colinette. This is my favorite yarn base ever. It's, well, commercial yarn. This is Jitterbug, and this is a really fun color that they have. I believe it's called Paint Box, and it's basically just whites with a lot of color splotches on it. Yeah, so it's basically white with a lot of fun color splotches on it, but I thought that these guys would make a very happy family together. So that is destined to be some sort of cowl or big shawl, which is going to be fun to knit, so yeah. And then last but not least, the most recent stash comes to me from, I feel like Kristen is getting 50 million ear burns in this episode, but from Kristen of Voolenvine. She was at her first ever vending opportunity in real life. She was at a pop-up shop in Soho. I believe that area is Soho. It's like Lower East Side, East Village, Soho area. At this shop called Lost Wax, and she had her yarn on display and for sale. So I went by, checked it out, said hello to her. And of course, you know, I had to support my girl and buy some yarn. So this is her blitzed base. It's her shiny base. It is 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and a little bit of stellina for you. And this is her preen colorway, which is really fun. It's a very springy color because it's all of these robin's egg blues, robin's egg greens, a little bit of yellow, some brown, some white, some gray. Really fun, subtle pops of color. So I fell in love with it. Plus the sparkle is nice. I don't know if you guys can see the sparkle. There you go. So so the camera and I were going to have to work a little bit better together on the focusing, but yeah, that's what I'm stashing. So again, because these are YouTube-based videos, I'm trying to keep them shorter, so I'm going to go ahead and jump to Periphery, and Periphery is going to be all about two things. I'm going to Maryland shipping wool, yeah! So hopefully that's next weekend. It's my birthday weekend. It's going to be the second year in a row that I choose to celebrate at a yarn festival, so go figure. That really makes me happy. So I'm going to get down to hang out with my friends Kate and Elizabeth, and see Spanish Peacock, and see Jenny the Potter, and all the amazing, see Carita of Neighborhood Fibers, and Anna Weaver, probably all of the amazing Maryland-based crafters, which is going to be really exciting. And I will hopefully snag a new spindle. But the other thing I wanted to tell you about is, yay, thank you guys so much for joining the Ravelry group. We're over 700 members, so I'm probably going to pick a winner for a prize, not today, maybe in another episode. But yeah, I'm so glad you guys are chatting along with me. It's really awesome to see you guys around. So the last thing I wanted to show you is some creaky cracky noises. The last time we hung out and I first introduced the I Knit NYC cowl, I told you about the prizes, but I didn't necessarily show them to you. So I found them in my stash. This is the first prize. This is some awesome yarn by Draper Makes Stuff. And of course, because we're celebrating New York City and New York State, I'm choosing to give away some New York State-based yarn. So this is the pretty yarn from Jill. And the other yarn that I'm sorry that it's crackling, but I don't want to take it out because it's not for me. This is by Jen, who is the proprietress of 716 Socks. She generously donated this awesome skein. And I don't know if it's going to show up because it's in the wrapping and the camera doesn't want to focus. But yeah, this is some really, really fun sock yarn in her really awesome color called I Might Be Love's Bitch. So yay for knit-alongs, yay for contests. You have until the end of June to go ahead and join us. Stop by the Ravelry group, say hello, stop by my Instagram feed. The hashtag for that is IKnitNYCCal, and join in the fun. In the meantime, I will see you guys around the block on Instagram and on Ravelry, and if you're at Maryland Shipping Wool, I will see you there. Say hello. My husband will be there. Crazy, I know. I don't know if he's going to be in the fairgrounds because he gets a little hairy around us crafters. But yeah, it's going to be awesome. So say hello. Until then, if you can't craft it, stash it.